Hello, welcome back to episode 2 of On the Couch with NZ. I'm here with Tom Russell. How you going,
Hello,
Tom?
mate.
Good.
Good, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. Good to have you in. Good to have
do
you.
it.
I was about to say it's a little bit more. Proper this time. We're sort of sitting in the gym. We're getting into it. All right. So, Tom, let me ask you, what first got you interested in physiotherapy?
Yeah, so when I was at school, I was actually the class clown.
I find that hard to believe.
Yeah, but I always loved sport.
Yep.
And when I got into year 11, I had a couple of pretty bad knee injuries, ended up getting surgery, and I just had this, I don't know if you would call it an epiphany.
Yeah.
Thought, I need to figure out what I want to do here. I can't keep mucking around at school. So I just committed to trying really hard at my academic stuff. And I think when you're so into sport and then you become academically inclined.
Absolutely.
And I had injuries.
Yep.
It just naturally started to happen. I spent so much time at the physio.
Yeah, cool. What sport? You said you were in
Soccer.
sport? Soccer.
Played soccer.
Beautiful.
So knee surgeries, both sides. In a pretty short period of time. And just being at the physio so much and just getting
ignited your passion.
And I think I was just motivated to go to uni then.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, what can I do? And I started to look at different things and I thought, I'm going to do physio. And it was just like the obvious choice for me. I actually didn't think I would get in.
Yeah. It's a pretty high mark. Because so many people want to do physio.
Yeah.
It's the mark each year is getting higher and higher.
So hot. Yeah. Even at the time. And I had this sort of idea that I really wanted to help people.
Yeah, good.
And I just love the health industry.
Yeah.
And I did back then, you're going back sort of 16, hang on, how long? 18 years now.
Makes us feel old, doesn't it?
Yeah. And I just looked at physio and I thought, I can help people. I'm still going to be involved in the sport world.
Yep. A lot of our viewers probably don't realise that I remember when you were a fresh fresh graduate.
Yeah.
I was managing the gym at the time. Tom was a fresh graduate coming in. And
mate, how old were you?
Oh, geez, that's taking me back a little bit. That'd be about.
I reckon you're going back
10 or 12
13 years.
Yeah,
mate.
wow.
12, 13 years.
Does make us feel old, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Fantastic. All right, so talk to me about how do you go about recovery for injury? Talk to me about, is there a particular approach you like to take? Yeah, talk to me about that.
The biggest thing for us is injuries generally are pretty predictable.
Yeah, okay.
And in some ways, they can be predictable in the sense that some things are really unpredictable.
Yeah.
So I know that sort of doesn't make sense, but we will have patients that come in with a particular part of their body that's injured, and we can predict, hey, this is going to take 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah.
So our approach is to be really upfront and honest with people about that.
Plus, I love your approach in you believe you have to keep moving.
Yeah.
We'll have people come in and they're like, my physio said not to do anything for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Because they've got some sort of knee issue. I'm like, hang on a second.
Yeah, and I think
what about the rest of the body? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and thankfully our profession has overall gone away from that mode of thinking.
Yeah.
It does still exist in physio though.
Yeah.
And it's one of the biggest frustrations that gym owners, PTs
Yeah,
have with
big
physios
time.
their clients will go to a physio and will get told not to do anything.
Yeah.
And my approach is that there's very few injuries or things that are painful
that are that bad
that you can't do anything.
Yeah, and I agree. Don't get me. Sometimes someone's done something to their back, they can't move. I'm not saying let's get them in and get them doing certain things, but I guess for me, which is why we have such a great relationship, the amount of times that you've told me, okay, you've seen so and so, this is what we're going to do, and we actually incorporate your exercise regime into our
100%.
Programming, which is a way to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. You're helping them get through this injury, but they're also keeping them moving.
Yeah, and
which is so important.
Yeah, we either want people to be doing as closely as possible, or if they're not doing anything, encourage them to get into some big picture sort of exercise that's going to help them, which I think this will lead on to one of our other questions about prevention.
Yeah.
There is a large group of people that don't do enough exercise. And that's a huge predictor for injury. So we're either like, let's get a patient back to what they love doing as quickly as possible. And then if they don't do things that are good for them from a movement point of view, we really try and encourage that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think for us, being upfront with patients about exactly what's going on with them from the start
or as upfront as you can, because sometimes it's hard to predict.
And that's what I mean. Things in physio are either really predictable or really unpredictable. And I think people are okay with either as long as you tell them.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's a big part of our approach.
Which is fantastic. Really
being
good.
Upfront with patients from the beginning.
I would like to talk about prevention. Like obviously that's a big part as well.
It's like there's a hierarchy and tiers to this, right? So everyone needs to nail the most important things first from an injury prevention point of view, which is the same as coming to a gym.
Absolutely.
You've got to move your body, you've got to eat well, you've got to sleep.
Yeah.
You know, limit alcohol and things like that. Injury prevention, it does start with those, I think, things that people know are good for them.
Yeah.
So people are people know they need to get enough sleep, manage their mental health.
Big time.
Eat properly, just have some sort of exercise routine.
Yep.
And you can overestimate the exact details of should you foam roll, should you stretch, should you do ice baths, saunas.
Yep.
All of those things are incredibly important.
Absolutely.
But you've got to get that top tier stuff right. So if you're not training at all, that's a massive risk factor for injury,
big time,
just on its own.
Yeah.
So I don't like to simplify this topic deliberately because it can be really complicated.
Yeah, of course. Everything with health is complicated. Yeah, that's why it's important to surround yourselves with the right health professionals, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because what I'm seeing more and more today is that social media influencers are really ruling the roost when it comes to people listening. The amount of times people comes in and they'll tell me, "Oh, Nath, I've been doing this," and I'm like, "Why are you doing an exercise like that?" And they're like, "YouTube." And I'm like, TikTok. I haven't quite got to TikTok yet, Tom.
It's huge. People are like, "I've hurt my knee. I've been doing these exercises from this fella that lives in California." Injury prevention is first and foremost about managing your overall general health. And it starts with the obvious stuff.
Awesome.
From a more specific point of view, I think you can go in so many different directions. I don't have this isolated thing, whether it's ice baths, saunas, like all of that's good.
Yeah. So a holistic approach.
Yeah,
you need to incorporate everything
and figuring out what works for you. And I think that you mentioned it before, don't try and work it out on your own.
Yeah, very true.
You know, people that have that approach.
And listen to qualified professionals.
Yeah, like you're better off getting a good quality plan from health professionals to help you with injury prevention. Think about injury from a physio point of view though. The biggest thing with injury prevention is pain is not the first sign of a problem.
100%.
So what most people do is they might have a weak hamstring for 10 years. They don't know about it though, necessarily. The first sign that they have a problem with their hamstring is when they get pain.
There you go.
So pain
the pain necessarily isn't from the hamstring.
It could be something else.
It could be something else and it defers to the hamstring. The one thing that I've found, like with my plethora of injuries over the last 20, 25 years in the industry, is that when I have an injury somewhere, it's deferred from somewhere else. All the time.
And what about that conversation, Nathan, we were having about your neck?
My neck. And it seems like it's coming possibly from lower back, lumbar, and it's just deferring from that. The body will always find a way, and it will tell you when it's having an issue, but it won't necessarily tell you the time the issue arrives.
It's not immediate.
There you go.
It's not immediate. And I think a good analogy for this is like dehydration.
Big time. Yep.
Like this is not exactly what we're talking about. It's just a good example, right? Like you don't know that you're dehydrated just because you're thirsty.
Yeah.
It can happen before that.
Yeah, exactly.
And pain's the same thing. So from a let's try and prevent injuries, I'm massive on screening people's mobility and strength.
Beautiful.
Even when they're
Tell me the process of that. So someone comes in.
Yeah. Then they're like, I don't have pain.
Yep.
Maybe I've had injuries before, but at this moment, I actually feel okay. I might have a little niggly thing here and there, but overall I feel pretty good. And people should do this more.
Yeah.
And it saves you from needing more physio appointments. That's the idea of this. So you're like, I'm going to go to the physio when I feel pretty good.
Yeah.
So we can check strength objectively.
Beautiful.
We've got, I don't know if I've used it with you, Nate, but we've got like an objective force gauge.
Yeah.
So we can measure in kilos how strong any muscle is in the body.
Wow.
So then we can
game
compare
changer.
it side to side. So it might be like, if we use the hammy as an example, one hamstring's 28% stronger than the other. Well, you might not get pain, but that's a risk factor for you hurting yourself in the gym or in your life.
And obviously, you work with athletes a lot. So this sort of technology, tell me a little bit about what you're doing with the athletes, and you're working with been working with the Knights and whatnot. These sort of things would massively come in handy with athletes.
This is where it's all come from.
Yeah.
So all this, it's basically strength testing, but getting actual numbers for it. It's all come from athletic sporting teams.
Yeah, wow.
It's just never really been accessible to a physio clinic that caters to everyone.
It's a game changer, that is.
Yeah, and we've found people understanding where they're weak and where their imbalances might lie, and seeing that as a number gives them heaps of motivation to be like, I feel pretty good at the moment, but I've got some areas that are weak that could cause me problems in the future.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Whether they're athletic, as in play sport, or they go to the gym or not. They might just be like, do heaps of gardening, or I want to be active and strong with my kids.
Yeah. That's a big driver.
Strength testing. Strength is one of the biggest predictors of injury from, I guess, a more specific physio point of view.
Yeah.
And then strength, and then we screen mobility.
That's a big one.
So
Stretches.
Yeah. So
these days, really.
Where are you stiff? Where do you lack the appropriate mobility? And we know that there's particular amounts of movement that human beings should have.
Yeah. I mean, you look at today, a lot of people are desk bound. They're either desk bound, they're car bound. Okay. We had this, it was, I won't say a great period. We had a period here where we weren't going into the office. We were working from home. We were so constrained to what we do. But now a lot of people seem to be back in the office. They seem to be sort of desk bound.
Yeah.
What would you say, like, for these people out there that are spent 8 hours on a desk, you know what I mean? What would you say to avoid postural issues and back issues? What sort of stuff?
I could talk about this topic for hours and hours now. I love this. And I have seen a dramatic change, huge in my career, in people's sitting habits. Yeah. Okay. So as in how much they sit. And the impacts of that on their physical and mental health.
Yeah.
And
that's a big one.
Huge.
Mental health.
Yeah.
Like, we talk about physical health, okay? Mental health is just as integral to get right.
I mean, if not more.
If not more, yep, I agree.
Get this right.
Well, in my opinion, you can't have one without the other.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If your mental health is right, you know what I mean? You really need both to work hand in hand, okay? Obviously, strength training releases muscles, endorphins. I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about obviously, when it comes to if your posture's not right, sore back, sleep's affected, it's probably the most important thing. Then all of a sudden, mental health. So that's such a big part in what we're trying to do here to get people moving.
And it's the way I think of this whole desk-bound sitting culture that we've got. It's not, our machine is not designed to be stationary.
No, it's not.
How like someone leaves a car in the shed.
Yeah.
Oh, you got to get the car and tick it over. You know that old.
You got to keep it moving.
The car is not designed to sit in the shed and never be driven.
This is so true. Yes.
And we've created this world where we all do the same thing all day. So people might have different jobs. But they're essentially in the exact same position.
And the only time they're moving is going from job to job. Same
or
position there. You know what I mean?
And the average Australian spends at least an hour a day on Facebook alone.
Yeah, on Facebook. That's Zuckerberg would be happy out there.
That's a lot.
That's a long time on one.
And people probably hear that and they're like, I'm on Facebook for an hour. So it's not only now just at work.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, I'm on my computer all day.
And then you go home and scroll. So just on that, give me a couple of pointers for the people out there watching, whether they're getting RSA in their thumbs or whether they're hunched over their desk, neck. What's some? I know a rule of thumb with me when I was sitting for long periods, I'd have a Fitball, I'd sit on it for 10 minutes every hour.
You're nailing it.
What are some great things for someone to do at home that might watch this and go, you know what, that's me.
Yeah, and you know, mate, the thing that I see all the time is too much focus on the seat and the desk and how far everything away is.
Yeah.
So where's the computer, where's the mouse? That is important.
Yeah.
But it's the volume of sitting.
Yeah.
So you could
Without
spend
movement.
$5,000 on a chair, get an occupational therapist to come do an expensive assessment of your setup.
Yeah.
But if you still sit down,
you can have the best bed in the world, but if you lay on it for 24 hours a
It's not
day,
gonna be good
your
for
back's
you.
going to be cooked.
So for people that sit down all day, sit down all day at work, my number one tip is to follow the 20-minute rule.
Yeah, okay.
You should not sit for more than 20 minutes.
I know the Apple's got a good one. I think that's a bit longer though. It might be 40 minutes.
20 minutes.
Is it 20? When you've been sedentary, it tells you to sit up. That's a great feature.
Tell you what
for
works.
Apple.
I know, it's great. I'll tell you what works better, and this is old school. It works so much better. Only because I've tried everything with patients. Is people have a desk to get a sticker, like a star or circle, put it on their monitor somewhere, like in the corner.
Okay.
Not on the screen, right? But
yeah.
because it's a subliminal reminder
That you've got to get up and move.
people hate alarms.
Yeah.
People hate it because the first thing in the morning, what do we get?
Yeah, we
An
get
alarm.
offended by its sound. And they never make them with nice sounds.
gotta
do
get
they?
up. They're
The
always
nicest sound's still the most awful.
So if you
So you get that in your mindset.
So then
You've
people
got-
get an alarm and they
okay.
just turn it off or they stop doing it. A sticker is less confrontational
Okay.
and it tends to work better. Having that, whatever color it is, it could be gold,
Yeah.
but your brain will start to associate that with getting up out of my
So then
chair.
how long? So 20 minutes? What do we do?
Could be-
20 minutes.
It could be 10 seconds, could be 30.
Okay.
It
What
could
what
be-
would you recommend?
I'd say at least
Because a lot of
30
people
seconds.
out here just need to say,
30 seconds.
Tom said 30 seconds every
Go
20
for
minutes.
a walk to the
Go
other
for
side
a
of the
walk.
office and go back.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Can you turn around? Can you touch your toes? Can you do a squat?
Yeah.
Can you do that? Of course you can.
Yeah.
But
Will you?
But will people do that?
Yeah.
And my experience in the clinic is, if it's simple advice, as in, you need to get up every 20 minutes.
Yep.
I don't care what you do.
Fair enough.
It's just
Do something. Yeah.
Now, if people want to be more specific, of course they can.
Yep.
Right? If they've got a particular area of their body that's causing problems, there's specific advice that we can give. But I just start with that.
Yeah, cool.
And what most people realize is they're like, I never get up.
Movement is so important.
They realize I never get up.
And you tell people you've got to move. They know how important it is. Yet it's weird because it's until they're sick all the time, and until the immunity's shot, and this, and you mightn't realize it. Like I used to always think, because I never got sick. I barely ever used to get sick all through, and I used to think it was because my gym was dirty and you're around dirty stuff and it builds your immunity. Yeah, that's one, but it was because I was always moving.
Yeah.
I was always doing strength training. I was always doing functional training.
machine,
I was,
mate, right?
I was always keeping my body active.
What's your machine?
And that's why I generally don't get sick.
That's what the machine's designed. We're
it
meant
is.
to do that,
Yep,
right? It's like
yep.
we've de-evolved. Like
Yep.
we're on computers and tech and AI and all these
Yeah.
phone things that we all know are a big part of our lives. But from a movement point of view, we've day to day, we've gone backwards.
Okay, yeah.
And people are reliant on going to a facility, which is really good, like NZ.
Yeah, of course.
But you can't just do that if you've got an office job.
Big time.
You've got to bridge the gap and think.
You can't train for 45 minutes once a
sit down
day,
all day.
and then sit down for 8 hours.
100%.
Doesn't work that
No.
way. It's like, it's also like saying, 90% of the population wants to lose weight and build muscle at the same time. You know what I mean? It's like saying, just do this training, you'll get that. You can't.
Yeah, or I'm going to eat.
You need to eat properly.
I'm gonna-
you need
yeah.
to do the correct training. You know what I mean? Not just talking about that. I mean, obviously, how do you incorporate like nutrition and strength training and all of that sort of jazz with your clinic? What do you recommend? And
So with nutrition, they like to know if something's meaningful or not.
Yeah.
So like physios shouldn't ignore it. Like if someone's eating terribly and potentially they're overweight and they've got hip pain, we still have to tell them, and we should talk to patients about it and say, hey, this is meaningful for you to get your nutrition under control and potentially lose a little bit of weight.
Yeah.
But it's not our role to specifically do that.
Yeah, okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Strength training, like we would predominantly do that for rehab based
while we're talking about rehab, talk to me about what it looks like. So someone comes in, rehab, obviously we give them exercises. You know I've even got you donated a 6 kilo kettlebell up the back of our gym for some of our members to actually do their rehab as part of, still up the back there. So, so obviously that's so important, but so we've got that. So what things, how do you, after that, what do you generally do to recommend them to keep going? So, well, one, they don't inflame the injury again, and two, they keep on track with their fitness. What do you sort of recommend to that post-injury?
Yeah, I think people either are going somewhere or they're not, right? So they come to us and they're not training or they're not going to facility. If they're not going anywhere and they're open to it, we will refer them somewhere.
Excellent.
Or encourage them. If they don't want to go somewhere, we'll give them a program to do at home.
Yeah, okay.
Because not everyone wants to do that. We can't, we can't.
Yeah, fair enough.
People to, you need to go to a gym or a Pilates studio or whatever it is.
Is there any specific places that you'd recommend over others? I know in my experience, some of the gyms that I've been to probably weren't.
They're not all created equal.
Yeah. So how do you sort of, what do you do to obviously encourage, or who do you work, you know what I mean? Like what sort of trainings do you follow? What do you sort of recommend as far as that goes?
Yeah, I think for us it's do we have a direct relationship with the facility or the trainers or the owner? That's really important. Like if we don't know them, we're not going to refer to them. We need to know that they're genuine, they got their client's best interests at heart,
and that's
a
big one.
They do functional training, they don't just flog their people. So all of those types of things are critical as far as who we refer.
Like, any types of training you try and steer clear of?
It's a really...
I'm not throwing anyone under the bus, but is there anything that's sort of, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's,
it's a great question. And the first thing I'll say is I try not to discourage someone from any type of exercise.
I agree. Absolutely.
I think we've got to normalise.
Listen to the body, I suppose, would be the biggest.
I think it's more, if someone has a goal to run an ultra marathon, but they've only ever run 1 kilometre, that is totally appropriate for them to have that goal. But they've got to be in an environment where someone can show them how to do that. So
basically you're saying whatever sort of training you want to do, make sure you look into who you're going to do it with.
We can help with that.
They know what they're doing.
Spot on.
In that realm.
Yeah, I don't say someone shouldn't do X, Y, Z. Or this is better than this. Because the best program is the one that someone does.
Well, that's it.
Someone might think, for this patient, the best thing would be yoga. And it might be. But the patient is never going to do it. I was like, well, it's got to be fun. It's got to be something that they enjoy and that they're going to, it's close, like it might be a closeness to where they live, where they work. This
interesting one. Someone said to me a little while ago, because as you know, I've been in fitness and gyms for nearly 20 years now. Geez, that does make me feel old. And someone said to me a really good, and it's always resonated with me. They said something like 22% of people go to the gym. Why are we fighting over that 22% when there's 78% that need to do it as well?
100%.
So, and that's why we do these videos. And it's about educating people into getting them moving, because the more we all move, the better it is for everyone, better mental health, better example for our kids. It's just,
we have to move. It's everything. It's everything. And for me, exercise drives all the other good health things for me. That's the primary thing. If I'm exercising, everything else follows.
It does.
And I think a lot of people are like that. Like in Australian culture, like so many of us grow up with sport, exercise as the thing that we did.
And that's cool in a way.
You know,
it's very cool.
And so if we're doing something,
we need to get our kids off those iPads.
There's all this other good stuff that, you know what I mean, that shoots off because we're programmed to want to move as human beings, but in Australian culture especially. You know, we want to
get
moving,
out, get
active. So
don't get tips off socials. All right, thank you so much, Tom. We've covered lots of topics on things physiotherapy, fitness, health. It's been really good to have you on the couch.
That was awesome. Thanks,
and I look forward to catching up again. Thank you very much.
Cheers.